Good evening, welcome back to in the concise, precise, to the point khud, because I have no time to waste. This is 16 June 2023, 6:43 p.m. and there are two things that I have to document today. Firstly, the progress on stable diffusion AI nonsense. Nothing. I tried the whole day again, like yesterday. You can see on my screen I have uninstalled Python and everything like 20-30 times. It is so simple. I do not know why I am getting this screwed up. I have no idea. But I have seen one last ray of hope, and that is just before hitting record, I came across this video on YouTube by Sebastian Kampf, and he, in a very, very subtle, very nice tone, seems to be explaining exactly what needs to be done. I'm going to give this one more shot, but you know what? More than not being able to do it, there is something inside me which is like, I'm going to figure it. It's like, there have been much worse things to have to figure out in terms of Blender, in terms of After Effects, all sorts of things, and I've done it before. There is some very deep sense of peace with the fact that this stable diffusion AI thing, I will figure out whatever it is. And if I do not figure out, I will go into the depths of Python. I was looking for courses also on YouTube. There are 6-hour, 14-hour courses on Python. Such beautiful people on this planet alive at this moment in time. They're putting so much effort into like teaching Python and projects along with it. And even if that doesn't work, there's Udemy courses. They're doing hundreds of projects in one course. I'm going to go into the depths of Python, but I will figure it out at some point. That's for sure. That out of the equation. Second thing is, how do you use Auto Rig Pro to get your fist right? And here also I have to give credit, so I'm going to give that first. Credit to this person here. I watched his tutorial to understand it.
All of those controller.
MRU Studios. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your effort. So now once you have your Auto Rig Pro the way it should be, you know, everything is working like fine and everything. For example, if I come in here and if I rotate, you know, fingers and everything are weighted properly, I just love the fact that you just put on a little bit of effort in the rig, and when you hit the skin bind option in Auto Rig Pro, it does such an amazing job with weight paint. Complete contrast to Rigify. I mean, Rigify, it's a lot of hassle, and even with a lot of hassle, you don't get the perfect results. So I'm so far very happy with the way Auto Rig Pro has been working. How do you make that fist situation, right? You have to do is you have to come into the hand controller here, which is controlling the IK hand, and you want to come and say add hand fist. Now in the earlier versions of, for example, the tutorial that this guy is showing, I think they had this thing where you had to manually go and create the rig_fist action for this to work, but in this version at least you get it by yourself. So there is already an action in the action stack called rig fist, which you can't do anything, you can't delete it. You can maybe delete it, but I've shielded it just in case. So how do you make that wrist controller situation? So you basically are going to store the positions, and this you could apply to anything else, which is amazing about Blender, is every single day I unravel these new aspects of the software which blow my mind. So inside bone constraints, you have a thing called action, right, over here, and what that does is you can actually store an action in your action editor, and then you can use a controller to drive that particular action, a lot like the bone pose library, about which I was discussing a few videos back. But you can do it through a controller and everything, which is all amazing. So without further ado, how do you do it? You want to use these ones, right? So what I'm going to firstly do is just isolate this little part. So I'm going to select this and say Shift H, so it hides everything but this, and I'm going to hide this controller as well. Okay, and I'm just going to do on one side. For the other side, you're basically supposed to copy it, so let me just have the others as well. I'm going to select these and this and do Shift H, and then these two I can hide for now. Okay, now at the start of your timeline at 1 in the action called rig fist, you're gonna actually select all of these. Actually, you can select all with A, and I'm gonna say I for available. It used to say how many keyframes it's inserted, so location and rotation. Where is that info? Okay, it's not showing for some reason. 120 or whatever keyframes inserted. Oh, why is the keyframe here? So at 1 and then at 10, we already have that action happening. Okay, nice. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select these and say Alt R Alt G, so just so I can document how I made that rig, that fist thing happening, because it's a little confusing. So if you see in the documentation, they've said that don't use this IK control and scale it down. Oh my god, there was some IK control with which you could scale it down, but don't use that. Use location rotation for that constraint thing to work. So the way you do that is you want to select this one. Okay, say RX minus 120, or sorry, RX minus 90. Now how do you know RX minus 90, right? You know, select this, you know, go into your tool, say R, or you can come into your side panel and select the rotate tool, however you want to do it, and then you're gonna bring this down. You know, this is a bit tricky to get this right. So if you see at the top here that negative 90, so this is gonna go RX negative 90, so that brings down here, and you do the same thing, bring this here, press negative twice so it became positive. Okay, that's that. And I think even these, let me just check how far does it want to go. It wants to go till negative 90, RX negative 90, bring that in. And by the way, my what do you call it, orientation is at local and this is at individual origins. What do you call it, these two things, local and individual. These are the things they don't quite tell you in the RX minus 60. They don't tell this in the tutorials, so I can add a bit of value. RX minus 60. Okay, and then this one over here, let me just select this, and I think in X, you know, move it how far, minus 45, something like this. And now you want to select these and say I available, that should do it. So now what your rig fist action is doing is going from here to here. Okay, now you can do Alt H to unhide everything. Select this and select this, and you're gonna say add hand fist. Okay, it's only done for one, so now it's made this controller here. If you scale it in, wait, it's actually going through. Why is that? I think there were some settings here where it limits that. But anyway, you're gonna select this and add hand fist. Okay, again you have this controller. Yeah, there's something wrong with that one, because even if you scale it completely down, it shouldn't really go in through. The one that I've done right now is working just fine. So yeah, that's how you make your fist controller. And on my progress, I have taken my Ahana mesh. It's gonna be the main character in this character animation I've been working on forever actually. And I have made a high-res model for it, which is in T-pose. Okay, and I've done everything the way it's supposed to be done. Now the next step here is that video that I talked about a while back by P2 Design, where he says the difference of making your viewport armature not lag is to have your mesh a proxy mesh, but that proxy mesh, most important thing is you don't want to have an armature modifier running your armature. You want to have that those deforming bones directly parented to the mesh is directly parented to your deforming bones. So that's the process I'm going to do with this character now, where I'm going to go in here, go into these parts, come in here, split the vertices, and then use my rig to the deforming bones of the rig and parent this to the bone, and that will be my proxy mesh, which I'm going to use, proxy character, then I'm going to use to do the animations and everything, and then I will be in a position to start animating this. It's been a lot of work to get to the point to start, but yeah, that's pretty much all that I had to document. I'm under 10 minutes and I'm going to stop because I keep continuing and it becomes a pain to edit these videos. So other than that, the entirety of today was spent doing very minor things here and there for the full-time job. Just rendered a few videos, made some edit changes here and there, and sent them like pretty usual work. Again, I have to figure the stable diffusion thing. I will figure, no worries. And over the weekend, right, I don't really have any plans because as a natural consequence of listening to Muji's satsangs, I have stopped planning so intensively, because even as a matter of fact, if I look back at my videos on the times that I have planned very meticulously, I hardly ever end up following through. So I'm just gonna naturally go with the flow. This character animation is obviously something that I'm gonna continue working on, and we'll see where life takes us. Thank you so much for being in the code. I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.